The Admiral's hand cracked across her face like a gunshot. Blood sprayed from her split lip onto gray concrete. 5,000 soldiers watched in frozen silence. She was 22 years old. Long, dark brown hair falling loose around her shoulders, wearing nothing but an olive-green V-neck shirt and camouflage pants. She looked like nobody, a logistics clerk, a secretary in uniform. Admiral Victor Holloway smiled, satisfied he'd put this girl in her place. He had no idea he'd just struck the most decorated female operator in Navy SEAL history. And she was about to destroy everything he believed in. Before we continue, if you're new here, subscribe to our channel and follow this story to the end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. The sound echoed across the parade ground like a crack of thunder. Maya Thornton didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink. Blood dripped from her lip onto the concrete. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3. 5,000 pairs of eyes stared at her. Marines, sailors, soldiers, airmen, all watching a rear admiral backhand a young woman in broad daylight. Admiral Victor Holloway stood 2 feet away, his hands still raised, chest heaving with righteous anger. 59 years old, 3 stars on his collar, 33 years of service. A man who'd built his entire career on one simple belief: women had no place among warriors. "Look at me when I'm speaking to you," he growled. Maya raised her head slowly. Her dark brown hair had fallen across her face during the impact. She pushed it back with bloodied fingers, revealing eyes that held nothing. No fear, no anger, no submission. Just emptiness. That emptiness made Holloway angrier than any words could have. "You think wearing a uniform makes you one of us?" His voice carried across the parade ground, amplified by the microphone still clipped to his collar. Every word broadcast to 5,000 witnesses. "You think standing in formation with real warriors gives you the right to be here?" Maya said nothing. She simply returned to attention, blood still dripping from her chin, and stared straight ahead. Colonel Marcus Webb stepped forward from the reviewing stand. "Admiral, perhaps we should—" "Stay out of this, Colonel." Holloway didn't take his eyes off Maya. "I asked you a question, sweetheart. Who authorized you to stand in my formation?" "I was assigned here, sir." Maya's voice was soft, controlled, almost gentle. "Assigned," Holloway spat the word. "By who? Some desk jockey in Washington who's never seen combat? Some politician trying to meet diversity quotas?" "By Naval Special Warfare Command, sir." Holloway laughed. Actually laughed. "Naval Special Warfare? You? What do you do for them, honey? Make coffee? File paperwork?" A ripple went through the crowd. 5,000 service members shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't discipline. This was humiliation. Maya remained perfectly still. "I'm a logistics coordinator, sir. Support personnel." "Support personnel," Holloway nodded slowly. "That's what I thought. Support. Because that's all women can do, isn't it? Support the real warriors while we do the actual fighting." He turned to address the crowd, arms spread wide. "This is what's wrong with our military today. This is why we're getting weaker. We let anyone put on a uniform and pretend they're warriors." He spun back to Maya. "Tell me something, sweetheart. Have you ever been in combat? Have you ever taken a life? Have you ever watched a friend die in your arms?" Maya's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I've seen things, sir." "Things?" Holloway shook his head. "She's seen things. That's cute. I've got 33 years in this uniform. I've commanded ships. I've sent men into battle. What have you done? Made PowerPoint presentations? Colonel Webb tried again.
Admiral, this isn't appropriate. What's not appropriate is having a woman stand among warriors.
Holloway's face was red now, veins bulging in his neck. What's not appropriate is pretending that biological reality doesn't exist. Women are not built for combat. They never have been. They never will be. Maya spoke quietly. Sir, I'd like to return to my duties. Your duties? Holloway stepped closer. So close she could smell the coffee on his breath. Your duty is to stand there and learn something. Your duty is to understand that you don't belong here. Your duty is to accept that no matter how many diversity programs Washington creates, you will never, never be a warrior. He grabbed her chin, forcing her face up. Blood smeared across his fingers. Look at you, 5'5", 120 pounds soaking wet. You think you could survive what these men survive? You think you could carry an 80-pound pack through mountains? You think you could fight hand-to-hand with an enemy combatant? Maya's eyes met his. Something flickered in those dark depths. Something cold. I could try, sir. Holloway released her chin with a shove. Try. She could try. He turned to the crowd again. Did you hear that, Marines? She could try. Laughter rippled through parts of the formation. Nervous laughter. Uncomfortable laughter. But not everyone was laughing. In the third row, a young Marine named Corporal James Reeves was watching Maya's hands. He'd been through combat. He'd been through force recon training. And he recognized something in the way she stood, the way she breathed, the way her fingers stayed loose and ready at her sides. This wasn't a scared woman. This was someone waiting. Holloway was still performing for his audience. You know what? I'm feeling generous today. If you think you belong here, prove it. Maya's expression didn't change. How would you like me to do that, sir? 3 days, full combat assessment. The same evaluation we use for force recon selection. The same course that breaks 90% of male candidates. A murmur went through the crowd. The force recon selection course was legendary. Brutal. Designed to destroy anyone who wasn't absolutely elite. If you complete it, Holloway continued, I'll admit I was wrong. I'll apologize in front of this entire formation. Hell, I'll retire if that's what it takes. He leaned in close. But when you quit, and you will quit, you pack your bags and go home. You never wear this uniform again. Deal? Colonel Webb stepped forward urgently. Admiral, this is highly irregular. I can't authorize. I'm not asking you, Colonel. I'm asking her. Holloway stared at Maya. What do you say, sweetheart? Want to prove me wrong? The parade ground went silent. 5,000 people holding their breath. Maya Thornton wiped the blood from her lip with the back of her hand. She looked at the red smear on her skin for a long moment. Then she raised her head and spoke 3 words that would change everything. I accept, Admiral. The barracks bathroom was empty when Maya locked herself inside. She stood at the sink, gripping the edges until her knuckles turned white. Blood still dripped from her lip. Her cheek was already swelling, purple blooming beneath the skin. She'd been hurt worse, much worse. In Kandahar, she'd taken shrapnel to her shoulder and kept fighting for 6 more hours. In Syria, she'd been shot through the thigh and still carried her wounded teammate 200 meters to extraction. In Yemen, she'd endured 48 hours of interrogation without breaking. A split lip was nothing. But the anger was everything. She watched her reflection in the mirror. Dark brown hair tangled and wild. Olive green shirt spotted with blood. Eyes that had seen things no 22-year-old should ever see. 22 years old. 8 combat deployments. 47 confirmed kills. Lieutenant Commander Maya Thornton. Call sign, Spectre. The youngest woman ever to complete Navy SEAL training. The only female operator in SEAL Team 6 history. The ghost that enemies whispered about in the mountains of Afghanistan, in the streets of Mosul, in the compounds of the world's most wanted terrorists. And she just let a desk admiral slap her in front of 5,000 witnesses. Her hands trembled, not from fear, from restraint. She could have killed him. When his hand came toward her face, she could have redirected the blow, broken his wrist, put him on the ground in less than 2 seconds. She could have exposed herself right there, shown everyone exactly what kind of logistics coordinator she really was. But that would have compromised the mission. 3 months. She'd spent 3 months building her cover at this base. 3 months pretending to be nobody, gathering intelligence on a suspected spy ring operating within Pacific Command. 3 months of being invisible, while some of the most sensitive military secrets in American history were being stolen. One moment of satisfaction wasn't worth 3 months of work. One moment of pride wasn't worth national security. So she'd taken the hit. She'd tasted her own blood. She'd let a man who'd never seen real combat lecture her about what warriors looked like. And she'd said nothing. Her phone buzzed, a text from a blocked number. Cover intact? She typed back. Confirmed. Assessment in 12 hours. 3 days. The response came immediately. Complete it. Maintain cover. Target is close. Maya stared at the message. Complete it. As if a force recon selection course was a minor inconvenience. As if she hadn't just been assaulted in front of thousands of witnesses. As if her entire career wasn't hanging by a thread. She splashed cold water on her face, wincing as it hit the cut on her lip. Stay cold, she whispered to her reflection. Her father's words. Master Chief Daniel Ghost Thornton, the legendary SEAL who'd trained her from childhood, who'd died on a classified mission when she was 19, who'd made her promise, with his last breath, that she would never let anger control her. Stay cold, baby girl. That's how you survive. She touched the silver bracelet on her left wrist. Underneath it, hidden against her skin, was a small vial containing her father's ashes. She carried him everywhere, into every firefight, through every impossible mission. He was watching. He was always watching. I know, Dad, she said softly. I know. Stay cold. She straightened her shirt, smoothed her hair, and examined her reflection one more time. Tomorrow, she would begin the most difficult military training course in the world. She would do it injured, exhausted, and under the command of a man who wanted nothing more than to see her fail. And she would complete it. Not to prove anything to Admiral Holloway, not to make a statement about women in combat, not even to maintain her cover. She would complete it, because that's what Spectres do. They endure. They overcome. They never quit. And then, they disappear. The pre-dawn darkness was thick when Maya arrived at the training area. She hadn't slept. Her lip had swollen overnight, turning an ugly shade of purple. Her left eye was partially closed from the bruising on her cheekbone. Master Sergeant Bruno Kessler was waiting for her. He was 6'3", 240 pounds, with a face like carved granite and eyes that had seen more death than most people could imagine. He'd been running the Force Recon Selection Course for 15 years. He'd broken hundreds of candidates, crushed their spirits, sent them home crying. He looked at Maya's battered face and smiled. Admiral told me to make this interesting, he said. You know what that means? It means you're going to try to break me. Try, Kessler laughed. Sweetheart, I don't try. I succeed. Every time. Maya met his eyes without flinching. Then I guess we'll see who's better. Something flickered in Kessler's expression. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. Or just amusement at a mouse challenging a lion. First evolution. 20-mile ruck march. 80 pounds. Full combat load. He dropped a massive backpack at her feet. You have 4 hours. Anyone who doesn't finish gets dropped. Maya looked at the pack, then at the other candidates assembled nearby. 42 men, all force recon hopefuls, all staring at her with varying degrees of curiosity, hostility, and disbelief. She shouldered the pack without a word. Something to say, Lieutenant? Kessler asked. Just wondering which direction, Master Sergeant. He pointed toward the mountains. That way. 20 miles. Don't die. Maya started walking. By mile 5, 3 candidates had dropped. By mile 10, 8 more were gone. The terrain was brutal. Rocky slopes, thick brush, no trails. The pack dug into Maya's shoulders, rubbed her skin raw, made every step an exercise in pain. She kept walking. The sun rose. Temperature climbed. Sweat poured down her face, mixing with the dried blood still crusted around her lip. She kept walking. At mile 15, a candidate named Rodriguez fell beside her. Big guy, 200 pounds of muscle, completely broken. I can't, he gasped. I can't do this. Maya stopped, looked at him. Get up. My legs, they're cramping. I can't. I said get up. Rodriguez stared at her. This woman, this girl, half his size, face swollen and bloody, standing over him like she could do this forever. Who are you? He whispered. Maya reached down and grabbed his arm. I'm the person who's going to get you across that finish line. Now get up. She pulled him to his feet, handed him a water bottle from her pack. Drink, then walk, 1 foot in front of the other. That's all this is. Rodriguez took a shaky breath. Why are you helping me? Because that's what warriors do. They started walking again. Together. Mile 18. Maya's vision was swimming. Her shoulders were bleeding through her shirt. Every muscle in her body screamed for relief. But she could see the finish line. She could see Kessler standing there, watching, waiting for her to fall. Rodriguez was still beside her, barely conscious, but moving. Almost there, she said. Keep going. I can't feel my legs. You don't need to feel them. Just move them. They crossed the finish line together. 3 hours and 47 minutes. 13 minutes under the cutoff. Kessler looked at Maya's blood-soaked shoulders, her swollen face, the way she was barely standing. Not bad, he said. For a girl. Maya smiled through split lips. What's next? Kessler's eyes narrowed. He'd seen thousands of candidates. He'd seen men beg to quit after less than she'd endured. And she was smiling. Something wasn't right about this woman. Something wasn't right at all. Next, he said slowly, is the obstacle course. 1 hour break, then we see if you can actually fight. Maya nodded and walked toward the water station. Behind her, Rodriguez collapsed onto the ground. Other candidates were staring at her with something new in their eyes. Not hostility anymore. Not disbelief. Something like fear. The obstacle course was designed by sadists. 30-foot rope climbs. Mud pits filled with ice water. Walls that required upper body strength most humans didn't possess. Barbed wire crawls that tore flesh from bone. Maya completed every obstacle. Not first. She was careful about that. She let 3 men finish ahead of her, hiding her true abilities, maintaining the appearance of a woman pushed to her absolute limit. But she finished. Again. Kessler was waiting for her, arms crossed, face unreadable. Cold water immersion next. 45 minutes in 50-degree water. Most candidates can't last 15. Maya stripped off her outer shirt, revealing the olive-green V-neck beneath, clinging to her skin, soaked with sweat and blood. The cold water hit her like 1,000 knives. She didn't gasp, didn't cry out, just waded in until the water reached her chest and stood there, perfectly still. 15 minutes passed. 20. 30. Candidates around her were shaking uncontrollably, teeth chattering so hard they couldn't speak. Some were pulled out by medics, hypothermia setting in. Maya stood motionless, eyes closed, breathing steady. In her mind, she was somewhere else. Afghanistan. A mountain cave. 3 days without food or water. Enemy patrols searching for her outside. Syria. A flooded basement. 14 hours submerged to her neck, waiting for the rescue team that almost didn't come. Yemen. A metal box, 6 feet by 3 feet. 48 hours of interrogation. 50-degree water for 45 minutes? This was nothing. At the 45-minute mark, Kessler called time. Maya walked out of the water without assistance. Her lips were blue. Her skin was pale. But she was steady. "Anything else, Master Sergeant?" Kessler stared at her for a long moment. Then he leaned in close, voice low enough that only she could hear. "I don't know who you really are. But you're not a logistics coordinator." Maya met his eyes. "I don't know what you mean, Master Sergeant." "Bullshit. I've trained Force Recon candidates for 15 years. I know what elite looks like, and you're not trying to pass this course." He paused. "You're trying not to pass it too fast." Maya's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. "That's an interesting theory. Who are you?" "Lieutenant Maya Thornton, logistics coordinator, support personnel." Kessler shook his head slowly. "Fine, keep your secrets, but I'll be watching." He stepped back and raised his voice. "Candidates, tomorrow, 0400, navigation exercise. Don't be late." As the remaining candidates stumbled toward the barracks, Kessler pulled out his phone and typed a quick message. "Admiral Holloway. Something's wrong with Thornton. She's not what she claims. Recommend investigation." The response came quickly. "I don't care what she is. I care that she fails. Make sure she fails." Kessler stared at the message for a long moment. Then he deleted it. That night, Maya sat alone in the barracks, cleaning her wounds. Her phone buzzed. "Mission update. Target identified. Senior officer. High confidence. Intel suggests meeting tomorrow night, 2,200 hours, Building 7. Maya read the message twice. Tomorrow night. The same night as the navigation exercise. The same night she was supposed to be proving herself to an admiral who wanted her destroyed. She had a choice to make. Maintain her cover, complete the assessment, and risk losing the target. Or break cover, pursue the target, and risk everything she'd worked for. She touched her father's bracelet. "What would you do, Dad?" But she already knew the answer. Daniel Thornton had taught her many things: how to shoot, how to fight, how to survive impossible situations. But more than anything, he'd taught her that the mission always came first. Always. Maya closed her eyes and made her decision. Tomorrow night, she would complete the assessment. And then she would disappear into the darkness, become the specter once more, and do what she was born to do: hunt. Admiral Holloway sat in his quarters, drinking scotch, staring at a photograph on his desk. His daughter, Sarah, 23 years old when the picture was taken. Bright smile. Navy uniform. The day she'd told him she wanted to join the Marines. He'd laughed at her. Told her women didn't belong in combat. Told her she'd never be a real warrior. Told her to find something more suitable for her talents. She'd listened. Became a teacher instead. Got married. Had kids. Died in a car accident 3 years ago. And Holloway had never gotten to tell her he was sorry. Never gotten to admit he was wrong. Never gotten to say he was proud of her for wanting to serve. He poured another drink. Tomorrow he would break Maya Thornton. He would prove, once and for all, that women didn't belong among warriors. He would validate every belief he'd held for 33 years. But deep down, in a place he wouldn't acknowledge even to himself, he knew something was different about this one. The way she'd taken his slap without flinching. The way she'd accepted his challenge without hesitation. The way she'd looked at him with those empty, knowing eyes. Something wasn't right. He lifted his glass in a toast to Sarah's photograph. "Don't worry, sweetheart," he said to no one. "I'm doing this for you. To protect you. To protect all of them." But the words felt hollow even as he spoke them. And somewhere in the darkness outside his window, a shadow moved. Watching. Waiting. The specter was already on the hunt. The alarm never rang because Maya never slept. She'd spent the night reviewing building schematics, memorizing patrol routes, planning contingencies for tomorrow's operation. The spy she'd been hunting for 3 months was finally within reach. Senior officer. High confidence. 1 meeting away from exposure. But first, she had to survive day 2. She checked her watch. 0347. 13 minutes until formation. Her body ached in places she'd forgotten existed. The ruck march had torn the skin off her shoulders. The cold water immersion had left a deep chill in her bones that wouldn't fade. The cut on her lip had reopened twice during the night. None of it mattered. She pulled on her olive green V-neck and camouflage pants, laced her boots, and walked into the darkness. Master Sergeant Kessler was already waiting. His eyes tracked her approach with something new. Suspicion, maybe. Or calculation. "You look like hell, Thornton." "Good morning to you too, Master Sergeant." "Most candidates sleep before day 2. You didn't." Maya shrugged. "Couldn't get comfortable." "Or couldn't turn off whatever's going on in that head of yours." She met his eyes without blinking. "Is that a problem?" Kessler stepped closer. "I told you yesterday, I know what elite looks like. And I've been doing some research." Maya's pulse quickened, but her face revealed nothing. "Research?" "Lieutenant Maya Thornton, Naval Support Activity, Logistics Coordinator." He pulled out a folded paper. "Transferred here 3 months ago from nowhere. No previous duty stations listed, no training records, no fitness reports. It's like you didn't exist before you showed up at this base." "Clerical error, probably." "Probably." Kessler didn't sound convinced. "Or maybe someone with a lot of authority made sure your file was empty, on purpose." Maya said nothing. "Who are you really, Thornton?" "I'm the candidate who's about to complete your assessment, Master Sergeant. That's all that matters." Kessler stared at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "We'll see about that. Today's going to be different." "Different how?" "Today we break minds, not bodies." The other candidates were assembling now. 23 remained from the original 42. Men who'd survived day 1. Men who thought the worst was behind them. They had no idea. Kessler addressed the group. "Navigation exercise. You'll be dropped in teams of 4 at random coordinates. Your mission is to reach the extraction point by 1800 hours. No GPS, No maps, just a compass and your training. He paused. Oh, and one more thing. The coordinates I'm giving you are wrong. Murmurs rippled through the candidates. That's right, wrong coordinates, deliberately. Your job is to figure out where you actually are and navigate to extraction anyway. Anyone who doesn't make it gets dropped. Rodriguez raised his hand. Master Sergeant, how are we supposed to navigate with false information? That's the test, genius. In combat, your intel is almost always wrong. Your equipment fails. Your plans fall apart. What separates warriors from corpses is the ability to adapt. His eyes found Maya. Some of you might even discover you're not where you thought you were at all. The candidates were divided into teams. Maya found herself grouped with Rodriguez, a quiet sniper named Chen, and a massive sergeant named Kowalski, who'd been glaring at her since yesterday. Kowalski spoke first as they loaded into the transport truck. I don't know why they put a woman on my team, but stay out of my way. Maya ignored him. Hey, he grabbed her arm. I'm talking to you. She looked at his hand, then at his face. Remove your hand, Sergeant. Or what? Chen intervened. Kowalski, leave her alone. She finished day one same as us. She got lucky. Today's different. Kowalski squeezed harder. Today we'll see what she's really made of. Maya moved so fast Kowalski didn't see it coming. One moment he was gripping her arm. The next, he was on his back on the truck bed, her knee on his throat, his own arm twisted at an angle that was 1 degree from breaking. I said remove your hand. The other candidate stared in shock. Rodriguez's mouth hung open. Chen's eyes were wide. Kowalski tried to speak, but her knee pressed harder. Listen carefully, Maya said softly. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you respect me. But if you touch me again, I will end your career and possibly your ability to use that arm. Are we clear? He nodded frantically. She released him and sat back down as if nothing had happened. Rodriguez leaned close. Where did you learn to do that? Self-defense classes. That wasn't self-defense. That was something else. Maya looked out the window. Does it matter? The truck stopped. They were somewhere in the mountains, dropped in terrain that all looked the same. Rocky, sparse, deadly if you didn't know what you were doing. Kessler handed them a compass and the set of coordinates. Extraction point, 1800 hours. Don't be late. The truck drove away, leaving them alone. Chen checked the coordinates, then checked again. These don't make sense. According to this, we're supposed to go northeast. But if I'm reading the terrain right, that would take us straight into a canyon with no exit. Kowalski grabbed the compass. Let me see that. The coordinates are wrong, Maya said. Kessler told us that. So what do we do? Maya studied the mountains, the position of the sun, the direction of the wind. Her mind processed data automatically, the way her father had taught her. Survival wasn't about equipment. It was about observation. We go west, she said. Kowalski laughed. West? That's the opposite direction. The coordinates are designed to get us lost. If Kessler wanted to test our ability to adapt, he'd give us coordinates that lead somewhere dangerous but recoverable. That canyon to the northeast would be a death trap. So the real extraction point is probably in the opposite direction. Chen nodded slowly. That actually makes sense. It's insane, Kowalski said. We should follow the coordinates as closely as possible and adjust from there. You can do that, Maya said. I'm going west. She started walking. Rodriguez followed immediately. Chen hesitated, then fell in behind Rodriguez. Kowalski stood alone for a moment, pride warring with survival instinct. Then he cursed and jogged to catch up. They walked for 3 hours. The terrain grew more difficult. Their water ran low. Kowalski complained constantly. But Maya's instincts proved right. At 1400 hours, they crested a ridge and saw it. A clearing with a single flag marking the extraction point. They were 4 hours early. No other teams had arrived. Rodriguez stared at Maya. "How did you know?" "Lucky guess." "That wasn't luck. You read the terrain like you've done this 1,000 times." "Maybe I have a good sense of direction." Chen spoke up. "In the truck, when you took down Kowalski. I've seen special operations hand-to-hand techniques. What you did was SEAL combatives." Maya's expression didn't change. "I don't know what you're talking about."
"I was a SEAL candidate," Chen continued, "washed out in Hell Week. But I trained long enough to recognize the techniques. That armbar you used is specifically taught in close-quarters combat courses, advanced courses." The other candidates were listening now. Even Kowalski, nursing his bruised pride, was paying attention. "Who are you really?" Rodriguez asked. "Because you're not a logistics coordinator." Maya looked at each of them in turn. These men had been through hell with her, had trusted her to lead them, had followed her instincts when everything told them she might be wrong. She made a decision. "I'm someone who needs to complete this assessment without drawing too much attention. That's all I can tell you." "Are you some kind of undercover agent?" Kowalski asked. "I can't answer that." "Special operations?" "I can't answer that either." Rodriguez stepped closer. "Whatever you are, you saved our asses today. That's enough for me." Chen nodded. "Agreed." Even Kowalski, grudgingly, gave a short nod. "You're still not a real warrior, but you're useful." It was the closest thing to respect she'd get from him. Maya checked her watch. 14:30. They had time before extraction. "Rest while you can," she said. "Day 3 will be worse." But even as she spoke, she was thinking about tonight. 2,200 hours. Building 7. The meeting that could expose the spy she'd been hunting for months. She had to be there. But the assessment wasn't over. The collision course was coming. The other teams arrived over the next few hours. Some barely made the deadline. 2 teams didn't make it at all. 8 more candidates eliminated. 15 remained. Kessler met them at extraction, his expression unreadable. "Congratulations. You survived day 2. His eyes found Maya. "Some of you more easily than others." He walked among the candidates, studying each face. "Tomorrow is the final day. Combat simulations, stress inoculation. The closest thing to real war you'll experience without actually getting shot." He stopped in front of Maya. "I hope you're ready, Thornton, because tomorrow I'm going to find out exactly what you're hiding." Maya met his eyes. "Looking forward to it, Master Sergeant." The candidates were transported back to base. Maya headed for the barracks, but Kessler's voice stopped her. "Thornton, a word." She turned. "Master Sergeant?" He waited until the others were out of earshot. "I made some calls today. Old friends in naval special warfare." Maya's pulse quickened, but her face showed nothing. "Nobody's heard of you," Kessler continued. "Nobody in logistics, nobody in support, nobody anywhere. It's like you're a ghost." "Maybe I just don't make an impression." "Or maybe you're exactly what I think you are." He leaned closer. "I spent 22 years in this military. I know what operators look like. I know how they move, how they think, how they assess every room they walk into for threats and exits." He paused. "You do all of that, unconsciously, automatically, like breathing." Maya said nothing. "Here's what I think," Kessler continued. "I think you're JSOC, Special Mission Unit, Black Operations. I think someone very high up placed you at this base for reasons that have nothing to do with logistics." "That's quite a theory." "And I think Admiral Holloway's challenge is the worst thing that could have happened to whatever mission you're actually running. Because now you're exposed.
Now people are watching. Maya let the silence stretch. Then she spoke quietly. If I were what you think I am, Master Sergeant, what would you do? Kessler considered the question. If you were what I think you are, I'd help you. Because operators protect operators. And because whatever you're hunting is probably something that deserves to be caught. And if I'm just a logistics coordinator who got lucky, then you're the luckiest logistics coordinator in military history. He stepped back. Get some rest, Thornton. Tomorrow is going to be interesting. He walked away. Maya stood alone in the fading light, processing what had just happened. Kessler was smart. Too smart. He was circling closer to the truth with every conversation. But he'd also offered help, and tonight she might need it. She checked her watch. 18:30. 4 hours until the meeting at Building 7. 4 hours to complete whatever Holloway had planned for tonight's evaluation. 4 hours to decide whether to trust a man she'd just met with secrets that could get people killed. Her phone buzzed. Target confirmed. Meeting at 2200, Building 7. High-value intelligence exchange. Extract evidence. Do not engage. Maya read the message twice, then deleted it. Don't engage. Just observe. Get evidence. Simple orders. Simple mission. But nothing was simple anymore. She walked toward the barracks, mind racing through contingencies. She'd have to slip away during the night, complete her surveillance, and return before anyone noticed she was gone. 3 hours of sleep, if she was lucky. Then day 3 of the assessment. She could do this. She had to do this. But as she pushed open the barracks door, her instincts screamed a warning. Something was wrong. The common room was empty. Too empty. The other candidates should have been here, eating, recovering, preparing for tomorrow. Instead, silence. Maya's hand moved to her waist, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. Old habits. She moved through the building, checking corners, clearing rooms. Her training took over automatically. In the back corridor, she found them. All 15 remaining candidates lined up against the wall. Kessler standing in front of them. And Admiral Holloway, face red with anger, pointing directly at Maya. There she is, Holloway snarled, the woman who thinks she can cheat her way through my assessment. Maya stopped. Admiral? Don't play innocent with me. He held up a piece of paper. I have statements from multiple candidates claiming you used outside assistance during today's navigation exercise. That you somehow knew the extraction point before you were given the coordinates. Maya's eyes swept the candidates. Rodriguez looked confused. Chen looked worried. Kowalski looked smug. Kowalski, of course. I didn't cheat, Maya said calmly. I used terrain analysis and logical deduction to determine that the provided coordinates were deliberately misleading. Terrain analysis? Holloway laughed. You expect me to believe a logistics coordinator has the skills to navigate without proper coordinates? I expect you to believe the truth, Admiral. The truth is that you're a fraud. He stepped closer, that same aggressive energy from the parade ground. The truth is that women don't have the mental capacity for this kind of tactical thinking. So either you cheated, or someone told you where to go. Maya felt her control slipping. The anger she'd been suppressing for 2 days was rising like a tide. Nobody told me anything. Then explain how you found the extraction point 4 hours early. I already explained. Explain it again! Holloway was screaming now. Explain how a paper-pushing secretary outperformed candidates who've been training for years. The room went silent. Maya looked at Holloway, at his red face, his clenched fists, his desperate need to be right. This wasn't about cheating. This wasn't about the assessment. This was about ego, pure and simple.
I can't explain it in a way you'll accept, she said quietly, because you've already decided what you want to believe. What I believe is evidence. Holloway waved the paper.
Kowalski's statement says you knew exactly where to go from the moment you started walking. That's impossible without prior knowledge. Maya turned to Kowalski. Is that what you said? He met her eyes with a smirk. I said what I saw. What you saw was me making a decision and being right. That's not cheating. That's judgment. It's suspicious, Kowalski said. No woman could figure out what you figured out. Rodriguez stepped forward. Admiral, I was there. She didn't cheat. She just thought differently than the rest of us. Nobody asked you, Rodriguez. Sir, with respect, she saved our team. If she'd followed the coordinates like the rest of us wanted, we'd have been eliminated. Holloway's eyes narrowed. Are you defending her? I'm telling the truth, sir. The truth is whatever I decide it is. Holloway turned back to Maya. You're disqualified. Pack your bags. You're off this base by morning. Something broke inside Maya. Not visibly. She didn't scream or cry or attack. But something shifted in her eyes. The mask she'd been wearing for 3 months cracked, just slightly. No. Holloway blinked. Excuse me? I said no. Maya stepped forward. I've completed every challenge you've thrown at me. I've outperformed candidates with years more experience. I've done everything by the book. And you're disqualifying me based on one man's accusation? I'm an admiral. You're a coward. The words came out cold, flat, deadly. The room stopped breathing. You hit me in front of 5,000 soldiers because you were afraid. You challenged me to this assessment because you were afraid. And now you're disqualifying me because I'm succeeding, and you can't handle what that means. Holloway's face went purple. How dare you? I dare because I've earned the right to dare. Maya's voice rose for the first time. I dare because while you were sitting behind a desk for 30 years, I was... She stopped herself, just barely. The silence stretched. You were what? Holloway whispered. Maya pulled back, forced the mask back into place. But it was too late. Everyone in the room had seen something in her eyes. Something dangerous. I was following orders, she finished quietly. Like every good sailor. Holloway stared at her, then at Kessler, then back at Maya. The disqualification stands. Get off my base. He turned and walked out. Maya stood motionless as the other candidates filed past. Rodriguez paused beside her. I'm sorry, he said. That wasn't fair. War isn't fair. This isn't war. Maya looked at him. Yes, it is. You just don't know what the battle's really about. She walked out into the night. 21:30. 30 minutes until the meeting at Building 7. The assessment was over. Her cover was blown. Everything she'd worked for was falling apart. But the mission remained. She checked her phone. One new message. Target meeting confirmed. Building 7. Critical intelligence at risk. Complete mission at all costs. Maya read the message, then looked toward Building 7 in the distance. At all costs. She started walking. Behind her, Kessler watched from the shadows. Then he followed. The night swallowed Maya whole as she moved through the base. 3 months of surveillance. 3 months of pretending to be nobody. 3 months of watching, waiting, gathering fragments of intelligence that pointed to a single, terrifying truth. Someone inside Pacific Command was selling secrets. Satellite positions, submarine routes, undercover operative identities. Information that had already gotten 2 CIA assets killed in Syria and compromised a SEAL team extraction in Yemen. Tonight,
she would finally see the traitor's face. Building 7 was a maintenance facility on the far edge of the base. Isolated, rarely used, perfect for clandestine meetings. Maya approached from the east, staying low, moving without sound. Her body remembered this. The hunting, the stalking, the becoming invisible. She was 50 meters from the building when she heard footsteps behind her. Not random footsteps, controlled, deliberate. Someone trying to be quiet, but not quite succeeding. She spun, dropping into a combat stance. Kessler emerged from the shadows, hands raised. "Easy, Thornton. It's me." "What are you doing here?" "Following you." He moved closer. "What are you doing here?" "None of your business." "The hell it isn't." Kessler's voice was hard. "I told you I know what operators look like. I also know what missions look like. And whatever's happening in that building is the reason you've been on this base for 3 months. Maya calculated her options. She could take Kessler down. He was good, but she was better. She could neutralize him, complete the mission, deal with the consequences later. But he'd offered to help. And right now, backup might be the difference between success and failure. "If I tell you, you're committed," she said. "No backing out, no reporting to Holloway, no questions I can't answer." "I understand." "Do you? Because what I'm about to do could end both our careers." Kessler met her eyes. "I've spent 22 years following orders from men like Holloway. Men who care more about politics than soldiers. Men who've never seen real combat, but think they know everything about war." He paused. "I'm tired of it. Whatever you're doing, I want in." Maya made her decision. "There's a spy in Pacific Command. High-ranking officer. Been selling intelligence for at least 2 years. Tonight, they're meeting a foreign handler in that building." Kessler's face went pale. "A spy? Inside our command?" "The information they've leaked has gotten Americans killed. My mission is to identify them and gather evidence." "Then what?" "Then JSOC handles it." Kessler processed this. "You're not just an operator. You're counterintelligence." "I'm whatever the mission needs me to be." "And the assessment? Holloway's challenge?" "A complication I didn't plan for." Maya checked her watch. "The meeting starts in 10 minutes. Are you in or out?" "I'm in." "Then follow me. Stay quiet. And whatever happens, don't engage unless I say so." They moved toward Building 7 together. Maya found an access point on the north side, a ventilation grate barely large enough for her to squeeze through. She'd mapped every entrance and exit during her surveillance. "Wait here," she told Kessler. "I'm going inside. You cover the exits." "You're going in alone?" "I'm going in quiet. 2 people make twice the noise." Kessler hesitated. "If something goes wrong, then you call this number." She handed him a card. "Tell them Spectre is compromised. They'll know what to do." "Spectre?" Maya didn't answer. She was already pulling the grate free. The ventilation shaft was cramped, dark, suffocating. Maya pulled herself forward, inch by inch, controlling her breathing, making no sound. This was what she was built for. The impossible spaces, the invisible approaches. After what felt like hours, but was probably minutes, she reached an interior grate overlooking the main floor. 2 figures stood below. The first was a man she didn't recognize. Civilian clothes, foreign features. The handler. The second made her blood freeze. Admiral Victor Holloway. Maya's mind raced. Holloway. The man who'd slapped her in front of 5,000 soldiers. The man who'd tried to destroy her career. The man who'd ranted about warrior culture and military tradition. He was the spy, It made terrible sense. His position gave him access to everything. His reputation protected him from suspicion. His hostility toward her wasn't just sexism. It was fear. He'd been trying to get rid of her from the moment she arrived. He must have known. Or suspected. Something about her presence had made him nervous.
She pulled out her phone, activated the recording function, and positioned it to capture everything. "The information you requested," Holloway said, handing over a USB drive. "Submarine patrol schedules for the next 6 months. Satellite surveillance windows. And something special. The names and locations of every undercover operative in the Pacific Theater." The handler examined the drive. "This is worth considerably more than our usual arrangement." "Then pay me considerably more." Our agreement changes." Holloway's voice was cold. "I'm retiring soon. I need enough to disappear. Somewhere warm. Somewhere without extradition treaties." The handler smiled. "You've become greedy, Admiral." "I've become practical. The intelligence community is sniffing around. Some investigation they won't talk about. I need to move faster than I planned." Maya's heart pounded. He was talking about her investigation. He knew someone was hunting him. "Very well," the handler said. "Double the usual amount. But this is our last meeting. After tonight, we use different channels." "Fine, just get me my money." The handler reached into his jacket. Maya expected a phone or a payment card. Instead, he pulled out a gun. "I'm afraid there's been a change of plans, Admiral. My superiors have decided you're a liability." Holloway's face went white. "What? We had a deal." "Deals change. You just said so yourself." The handler raised the weapon. "Thank you for your service." Maya didn't think. She moved. She kicked out the grate and dropped 12 feet to the floor, landing between Holloway and the handler. Her hand shot out, deflecting the gun just as it fired. The shot went wide, punching through the ceiling. The handler recovered fast, trained, professional. He swung the weapon toward her. Maya was faster. She closed the distance in a heartbeat, trapped his gun arm, and delivered 3 precise strikes: throat, solar plexus, knee. He dropped. But he wasn't alone. 2 more men emerged from the shadows. Security. Armed. Maya calculated. 2 targets, both with weapons, 12 feet apart. 6 seconds to neutralize. She moved like water. The first man fired. She was already gone, sliding under his arm, driving her elbow into his rib cage with force that cracked bone. He folded. The second man tried to track her. Too slow. She caught his wrist, twisted, used his momentum against him. The gun discharged into the floor. She drove her knee into his face. 3 men down. 4 seconds. Holloway stared at her in absolute shock. "What? Who are you?" Maya straightened, breathing hard. Her cover was gone. Her mission was compromised. But she had him. She had everything. "Lieutenant Commander Maya Thornton, United States Navy. Call sign, Spectre." She pulled out her phone, still recording. "Admiral Victor Holloway, you're under arrest for treason, espionage, and conspiracy to commit murder." Holloway's shock transformed into rage. You're the investigation? A woman?" "Surprise. This is impossible. I vetted everyone on this base. Your file was clean." "My file was designed to be clean. That's the point of undercover work." Holloway's hand moved toward his own weapon. "Don't," Maya said quietly. "I've killed 47 people in combat. You would be 48. And I really don't want to fill out that paperwork." He froze. The door burst open. Kessler rushed in, weapon drawn, and stopped dead at the scene.
3 unconscious men, a disarmed Admiral, and Maya standing in the middle like she'd done this 1,000 times. Which she had. What the hell happened? The mission is complete. Maya gestured at Holloway. Meet our spy. Kessler's face cycled through disbelief, understanding, and finally, cold fury.
Holloway? He's the one who's been selling secrets? For at least 2 years. I have his confession on recording. Holloway found his voice. This is entrapment, illegal surveillance. No court will accept. JSOC doesn't use courts, Maya said. We use military tribunals. And trust me, Admiral, they're much less forgiving. She turned to Kessler. We need to secure this scene. Call Colonel Webb. Tell him Operation Spectre is complete, and we need immediate containment. Webb knows about this? He's been my handler since I arrived. He knows everything. Kessler pulled out his phone. Holloway watched it all with growing desperation. His perfect life, his perfect cover, crumbling in minutes. Because of a woman he'd dismissed as worthless. You can't do this, he said. Do you know who I am? Do you know the people who protect me? I know exactly who protects you. Maya stepped closer. Foreign intelligence services who now consider you a liability. You heard your handler. They were going to kill you tonight. I just saved your life. You destroyed my life. No, Admiral. You did that yourself, the moment you decided American lives were worth less than money. Holloway's face crumpled. For a moment, he looked old, broken. A man watching everything he'd built turn to ash. I had reasons, he whispered. You don't understand. I don't care about your reasons. Maya's voice was ice. I care about the operatives who died because of you. I care about the SEAL team that walked into an ambush in Yemen because someone told the enemy they were coming. I care about the families who buried their sons and daughters without ever knowing why. She leaned in close. That's who you killed, Admiral. Not statistics, not assets. People. And now you're going to spend the rest of your life paying for it. Sirens wailed in the distance. Security teams responding. Kessler ended his call. Webb is on his way. He's bringing a full containment team. Good. Maya looked at Holloway one last time. Secure him. I need to check the other targets. She moved to the unconscious handler, searching his pockets. Phone, documents, another USB drive. The intelligence haul would be massive. This was it. 3 months of work, culminating in a single night. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like exhaustion. Maya leaned against the wall and let herself breathe. Just for a moment. Just long enough to feel the weight of everything she'd done. Her phone buzzed. A message from JSOC Command. Mission success confirmed. Spectre, stand by for extraction. She read it twice, then looked at her hands. Steady. No tremors. No hesitation. 22 years old. 47 confirmed kills. 3 months undercover. 1 traitor exposed. Just another day in the life of a ghost. The door opened again. Colonel Webb entered, followed by a squad of military police. He took in the scene with practiced calm, then found Maya. Lieutenant Commander, report. Target acquired. 3 hostiles neutralized. Evidence secured. Admiral Holloway confessed to espionage on recorded audio. Webb nodded slowly. Outstanding work, Spectre. He paused. Though your cover's blown to hell. The cover was compromised the moment Holloway challenged me on that parade ground. He knew something was wrong. He just didn't know what. We suspected as much. Webb gestured to the MPs. Take the Admiral into custody. Maximum security. No communications. They dragged Holloway away. He didn't resist. He didn't speak. He just stared at Maya with eyes full of something that might have been hatred, or might have been fear.
When he was gone, Webb turned to Kessler. Master Sergeant, you understand that everything you've witnessed tonight is classified at the highest level. Yes, sir. You will not discuss it with anyone. You will not reference it in any report. Officially, this night never happened. Understood, sir. Webb studied him. You followed her.
Covered her position. That took guts. She needed backup, sir. Operators protect operators.
Something like approval flickered in Webb's eyes. Get some rest, Master Sergeant. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. Kessler saluted and left. Webb waited until they were alone, then turned to Maya. How are you really doing? The question caught her off guard. Not her status, not her mission readiness. How she was doing. I'm fine, sir. That's not what I asked. Maya looked at him. Webb had been her handler for 3 months. He'd watched her play a role, absorb abuse, and maintain cover under impossible circumstances. He knew her better than almost anyone. I'm tired, she admitted. I'm tired of being invisible. I'm tired of watching people like Holloway get power, while better men and women serve under them. I'm tired of carrying all this weight and not being able to tell anyone who I really am. That's the job. I know. It doesn't make it easier.
Webb reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope.
This came for you 3 days ago, from JSOC Command. I was told to give it to you after the mission. Maya took the envelope. Her name was written on the front in handwriting she didn't recognize. She opened it. Inside was a letter and a photograph. The photograph showed a young SEAL team from the 1990s. 6 men in combat gear, faces hard but eyes bright. In the center stood a man Maya recognized instantly. Her father, Daniel Ghost Thornton. The letter was from JSOC Admiral Catherine Rhodes. Lieutenant Commander Thornton, your father was one of the finest operators I ever knew. Before his final mission, he left something in my care, a letter to be delivered to you when you completed your first solo command operation. You've honored his legacy in ways he could only have imagined. The woman you've become is everything he hoped for and more. Enclosed is his letter. He wrote it the night before he deployed to Syria, the night before he didn't come home. I hope it brings you peace. Semper Fi, Admiral Rhodes. Maya's hands trembled as she unfolded the second paper. My dearest Maya, if you're reading this, I didn't make it back. I'm sorry. I wanted to see you become the warrior I know you'll be. By now you've completed something that matters, a mission, a purpose, something that put everything else aside and demanded everything you had. I know that feeling. I've lived it 100 times. Here's what I need you to understand, baby girl. Being a warrior isn't about the killing. It's about what you're protecting. It's about standing between darkness and the people who can't fight for themselves. It's about making hard choices so others don't have to. You have your mother's heart and my stubbornness. That combination will take you further than any training ever could. I know I was hard on you. I know I pushed you past limits you thought you couldn't break. But I did it because I believed in you. I did it because I knew you were stronger than you knew. And now you know too. Stay cold when you need to. Stay warm when you can. And never, ever let anyone tell you that you don't belong. You are a Thornton. You are a SEAL. You are my daughter. And I am so, so proud of you. Forever and always, Dad. Maya read the letter 3 times. Tears rolled down her face, silent, uncontrolled. She didn't wipe them away. For 3 months, she'd been stone, cold, professional, a weapon without weakness. But right now, in this moment, she was just a girl who missed her father. Webb stood in respectful silence. When Maya finally looked up, her eyes were red but clear.
He knew, she whispered. He knew I'd end up here, doing this. He knew because he knew you, better than anyone. Maya folded the letter carefully and placed it inside her shirt, against her heart. Sir, what happens now? Now, JSOC extracts you from this base. You get debriefed, recovered, and reassigned.
Reassigned where? That depends. Webb studied her.
Admiral Rhodes wants you back in the field. SEAL Team 6. A platoon leadership position. High-profile targets. The kind of work your father did. Maya considered this. The work she was born for. The legacy she'd been building since she was 8 years old. What's the alternative? Training command. Shaping the next generation of operators. Less dangerous. More stable. But not what I meant to do. That's for you to decide. Maya touched her father's letter through her shirt. Never let anyone tell you that you don't belong. I'll take the field position. Webb nodded slowly. Your father would be proud. My father is proud. She looked toward the window, toward the stars beginning to fade with approaching dawn. He's always watching. He always will be. Webb moved toward the door. Get some rest, Lieutenant Commander. Tomorrow, you disappear. But tonight, you can be Maya Thornton again.
Just for a little while.
He left. Maya stood alone in the empty building. The mission was over. The spy was caught. Her cover was burned. But she was still standing, still breathing, still carrying the legacy of a man who taught her that strength wasn't about muscle or weapons. It was about getting up when everything told you to stay down. She walked outside. The night air hit her face, cool and clean. In the distance, military police vehicles surrounded the command building where Holloway was being held. His career was over. His freedom was over. His life as he knew it was over. All because of a woman he'd slapped on a parade ground. Maya smiled grimly. Tomorrow, she would vanish, become Spectre again, hunt the enemies of her country in shadows that never saw daylight. But tonight, she was just a 22-year-old girl in an olive green shirt and camouflage pants. A girl who'd proved she belonged. A girl who'd honored her father's legacy. A girl who'd shown 5,000 soldiers what a real warrior looked like. She touched her silver bracelet one last time. I did it, Dad. I found him. I stopped him. The wind carried her words into the darkness, and somewhere, she knew, her father was smiling. Dawn broke 3 hours later, and Maya hadn't slept. She sat in Colonel Webb's office, still wearing her blood-stained olive-green shirt and camouflage pants, waiting for the extraction team that would take her away from this base forever. The door opened. Webb entered, his face grave. We have a problem. Maya straightened. What kind of problem? Holloway wants to talk to you. Privately. No guards. No recording. Absolutely not. That's what I told him. Webb sat down heavily. But he's threatening to recant his confession. Claims you coerced him. Claims the recording was fabricated. That's ridiculous. I have 3 witnesses, physical evidence, a foreign handler in custody. I know, but Holloway still has powerful friends in Washington. Friends who'd rather this whole thing disappear quietly than become a public scandal. Maya felt the anger rising again. So they're going to let him walk? No, the evidence is too strong. But they can delay prosecution, tie it up in committees, make it messy. Webb leaned forward. Admiral Rhodes thinks a private conversation might help. Get him to fully cooperate. Name his contacts. Give us the complete network. And what do I get out of listening to a traitor's excuses? Closure, maybe. Understanding. Or maybe just the satisfaction of looking him in the eye and letting him see exactly who brought him down. Maya considered this. Every instinct screamed against it. Holloway had tried to destroy her, had humiliated her, had struck her in front of thousands of witnesses. But her father's letter still pressed against her heart. Stay cold when you need to. Stay warm when you can. Fine, she said. But I want Kessler outside the door. If anything goes wrong, he comes in. Done. They brought Holloway to an interrogation room 30 minutes later. He looked like a different man. The arrogance was gone. The fury was gone. In their place was something Maya hadn't expected. Defeat. He sat, handcuffed to the table, shoulders slumped, eyes fixed on the surface in front of him. When Maya entered, he didn't look up. She sat across from him, said nothing, let the silence build. Finally, Holloway spoke. I read your file, your real file. I assumed you would. Lieutenant Commander Maya Thornton, call sign Spectre. First woman to complete BUD/S without modified standards. 8 combat deployments, 47 confirmed kills. He laughed bitterly. And I called you a secretary. You called me a lot of things. I was wrong. The words seemed to cost him everything. I was wrong about all of it. Maya waited. Holloway finally raised his eyes. They were red-rimmed, wet.
Do you know why I hit you on the parade ground? Because you're a sexist coward who couldn't handle a woman in your formation.
No, he shook his head. Because you reminded me of her.
Who?
My daughter, Sarah. The name hung in the air between them. She wanted to be a Marine, Holloway continued, his voice cracking. 20 years ago. Came to me all excited, talking about serving her country, following in her father's footsteps. And he stopped, swallowed hard. I told her no. Told her women didn't belong in combat. Told her she'd never be a real warrior. Told her to find something more suitable. Maya felt something shift in her chest. Not sympathy exactly, but recognition. What happened to her? She listened to me. Became a teacher instead. Got married. Had kids. Holloway's voice broke. And then 3 years ago, a drunk driver ran a red light. She was gone in an instant. Tears rolled down his face. He didn't wipe them away. I never got to tell her I was sorry. Never got to admit I was wrong. Never got to say I was proud of her for wanting to serve. He looked at Maya with anguished eyes. And then you showed up. Same fire in your eyes. Same determination. Same everything. So you tried to destroy me. I tried to prove myself right. If I could break you, if I could show that women really couldn't do this work, then maybe I wasn't wrong about Sarah. Maybe my advice protected her instead of limiting her. Maya leaned back. That's the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. I know. You sold secrets to foreign governments. You got Americans killed. And you're telling me it's all because you couldn't deal with your guilt about your daughter? No. The spying started long before that. Holloway shook his head. That was just greed. Stupidity. I got in too deep and couldn't get out.
Then why are you telling me this?
Because I want you to understand that when I hit you, it wasn't about the mission. It wasn't about protecting my cover. It was about a broken old man who couldn't face what he'd done to his own child. Maya studied him. This man who'd terrorized her, who'd tried to end her career, who'd betrayed everything she believed in. And underneath it all, just a father who'd failed his daughter. You want absolution, she said quietly. You want me to tell you it's okay.
that you're not a monster.
No, I know what I am. Holloway straightened slightly. I want you to know that you were right. About everything. Women can do this work. Women can be warriors. I was blind and scared and wrong.
And what good does that do now?
Maybe none. But there's a generation of young women coming up behind you. Officers, enlisted, all of them fighting the same battles you fought. And they need people in leadership positions who believe in them.
He leaned forward, chains rattling. I'm going to cooperate. Fully. I'll name every contact, every handler, every secret I ever sold. In exchange, I want one thing. You're not in a position to negotiate. This isn't for me. It's for them. Holloway's voice hardened with unexpected conviction. I want my confession to be public. I want every soldier on this base to know what I did. And I want them to know who caught me. Maya frowned. Why? Because they need to see that a 22-year-old woman brought down a rear admiral. They need to see that the person who stopped a traitor was someone I tried to destroy. They need to see that everything I believed was wrong. He met her eyes. I can't undo what I did. I can't bring back the people who died because of me. But I can make sure my failure becomes a lesson. And maybe that lesson saves someone else. Maya sat in silence, processing his words. This wasn't what she'd expected. She'd expected excuses, deflection, more arrogance. Instead, she'd found a broken man trying to build something meaningful from the ruins of his life. Your daughter, she said finally. What was she like? Holloway's face softened. Stubborn, fierce, never backed down from anything. A ghost of a smile. She would have made a hell of a Marine. She sounds like someone I would have liked. She would have loved you. Would have seen you as proof that everything was possible. Maya stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the base where she'd spent 3 months being invisible. I lost my father when I was 19, she said quietly. He was a SEAL, killed on a classified mission. I never got to say goodbye. Holloway said nothing. He taught me everything. How to shoot, how to fight, how to survive. But more than that, he taught me that being strong didn't mean being cruel. That power came with responsibility. That the people who can do violence should be the most careful about using it. She turned back to Holloway. You failed your daughter, but she's gone. You can't fix that. Maya paused. What you can do is make sure her memory means something. Make sure the young women who come after her don't face the same obstacles you put in her way. How? You're going to stand in front of this entire base and confess, not just to the espionage, to everything. The sexism, the abuse, the years of tearing down women who wanted to serve. Holloway's face went pale. That'll destroy whatever's left of my reputation. Your reputation is already destroyed. This is about building something new from the ashes. And if I refuse? Maya leaned close. Then I'll make sure every single person in the military knows you were brought down by a woman you called sweetheart. I'll make sure your legacy is nothing but a joke. A cautionary tale about weak men who couldn't handle strong women. She straightened. Your choice, Admiral. Go down as a villain, or try to be something more. Holloway was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. When? Tomorrow. Same parade ground, same 5,000 soldiers, full formation. And you'll be there? I'll be there. Maya walked toward the door. Don't make me regret this. She left him alone with his choices. The next morning arrived faster than Maya expected. She stood in Webb's office, wearing a fresh uniform for the first time in days. Lieutenant Commander insignia on her collar, SEAL trident on her chest.
the full weight of who she really was finally visible. "You sure about this?" Webb asked. "No, but it's the right thing to do." "Holloway could back out, could make this worse." "He won't." "How do you know?" Maya touched her father's letter through her uniform. "Because I saw something in his eyes. Something real. He wants redemption, even if he doesn't deserve it." Webb nodded slowly. Admiral Rhodes approved the public confession.
But she wants you to know that after today, you're being extracted immediately. Back to JSOC. Back to the shadows.
"I understand." "Do you? Because this is the last time you'll ever stand in the light. After today, Maya Thornton disappears again. Spectre takes over." Maya smiled faintly. "Spectre never left. Maya was just the cover." "I don't think that's true." Webb studied her. "I think Maya is real. I think she's the person you want to be when you're not hunting bad guys in the dark." "Maybe." She headed for the door. "But Maya doesn't keep people alive. Spectre does." The parade ground was exactly as she remembered. 5,000 soldiers in perfect formation. The same reviewing stand. The same microphone system that had broadcast Holloway's abuse 3 days ago. But everything else was different. This time, Maya didn't stand in the rear. She stood at the front, beside Colonel Webb and Master Sergeant Kessler. Her uniform was pressed. Her wounds were healing.
Her head was high. Holloway was escorted to the platform in handcuffs. 2 military police officers flanked him. His stars had been removed. His uniform was bare. The crowd murmured. Confusion, curiosity, anticipation. Holloway stepped to the microphone. His hands were trembling, but his voice was steady. 3 days ago, I stood on this platform and gave a speech about warrior culture, about what it meant to be a fighter, about who belonged in our military and who didn't." He paused. 5,000 pairs of eyes watched. "I was wrong. About everything." The murmur grew louder. 3 days ago, I struck a junior officer in front of all of you. A woman I believed had no right to wear this uniform. A woman I called weak, unqualified, unworthy. He turned and looked directly at Maya. "That woman is Lieutenant Commander Maya Thornton, call sign Spectre, Navy SEAL, 8 combat deployments, more confirmed kills than most special operations units see in a decade." Shock rippled through the formation. Maya felt thousands of eyes turn toward her. "She's been on this base for 3 months, running a counterintelligence operation that I was too arrogant to notice. An operation that was targeting me." The murmur became a roar. Webb stepped forward. "Quiet in formation!" Silence fell. Holloway continued. "For the past 2 years, I have been selling classified intelligence to foreign governments. I have compromised operations. I have endangered lives. I am a traitor to this country and everything it stands for." Someone in the crowd gasped. "Last night, Lieutenant Commander Thornton completed her mission. She exposed my crimes. She captured my handler. She stopped me from doing any more damage." His voice cracked. "She did everything a real warrior should do. And she did it after I publicly humiliated her, struck her, and tried to destroy her career." He turned back to the crowd. "I want you all to understand what happened here. The person I called weak saved American lives. The person I called unqualified executed a mission that seasoned intelligence officers couldn't complete. The person I called unworthy showed more honor, more courage, and more professionalism in 3 days than I showed in 33 years. Tears were streaming down his face now. "I'm going to prison. I deserve to go to prison. But before I do, I need to say something to every woman in this formation. To every woman who's ever been told she doesn't belong,
To every woman who's been slapped, harassed, dismissed, or ignored by men who were supposed to lead her. He took a shaky breath. You belong here. You have always belonged here. And the only people who don't belong are men like me. Men who are too weak to accept that strength has nothing to do with gender. Men who are too scared to see women as equals. Men who destroy potential because they can't face their own failures. He looked at Maya one more time.
Lieutenant Commander Thornton, I owe you an apology that words can't cover, but I'm going to try anyway. He stepped away from the microphone.